What is it about this mindset that keeps pulling me back? Is it the insatiable hunger of the bleed, the beast mode mentality that takes over, or the thrill of lying in wait for an unsuspecting victim to seal their fate? Maybe it's that rush of knowing you're unstoppable, pushing through the trenches with nothing to fear. Whatever it is, this build embodies it all.
여기다 거기 있고.
Today, I'm breathing life into the legacy of Predator's Mark, a gear set so iconic, it's legendary. But I'm not stopping there. With 50% amplified damage, unmatched team support, and insanely powerful skills, this build doesn't only hit hard, it dominates. And because I couldn't help myself, I've included not one, but two versions, one for PvP and one for PvE. I went all out in this one, fam, so let's not waste any more time talking about it. Oh boy, do I have a great build for the community. The Division 2 community needs these builds right now because I have both versions, PvP and PvE. Just because I love PvP. Doesn't matter if it's lackluster, I like to find different ways to get the upper hand on the opponent. And what I've noticed is that in PvP, everybody just camps. Everyone just sits behind cover and waits for everyone else to run out into the open, and they burn you down. That's my problem because I'm usually impatient when it comes to PvP. I had to dial it back a little bit and play more strategic. And when I did that, I just started destroying everyone because I know this build deals the damage, which is why I couldn't understand why I kept getting melted. Well, it was because of my strategy. So once I altered it, this build became something. So I'm going to show both versions, but I'm going to show the PvP version first. And this is the Predator's Mark of TU22, Year 6, Season 2. And I've made my versions of Predator's Mark builds in the past. I probably made like 7 of them. And every time it's different. Last year, it seemed like it was the year of the hybrid. So I made like the 5 weapon core, 5 skill tier, 2 armor core ongoing directive builds. And that was the Predator's Mark back then. But this one, I need more damage because there's more damage around us, like Umber Initiative and just the Pestilence. It's just really crazy when it comes to the damage. So you have to do something to compete. This build does not only deal DPS, it also provides exceptional support to your team with the hollow points and for yourself because you get 50% amplified damage. That's like more than glass cannon, but without the weakness. So let me get into this build, okay? Firstly, I'm using the Technician Specialization, and that's specifically for the extra skill tier that I get for simply having this on. I'm not really using this in PvE. You can. It's a great build for PvE, but I'm going to show you one that's really good, and that's next. But Technician is just great for hybrid builds and skill builds in general, and it affords you a lot of versatility. So that's really the main reason I'm using this for the extra skill tier, because I need to get 6 skill tiers, but I can't be too squishy. And the only ways I'm able to do that is by using Technician Specialization along with the 2-piece Brazos. With the Pucaro's holster, the 2-piece grants 1 skill tier. And usually I'd put the Ninja Bike backpack on and just have 1 piece here and then have like the contracted gloves right here. But like I said, I needed more damage, right? So it's the reason I have the Brazos backpack with Wicked. And this is how I'm going to get that damage. I don't know if you guys remember from Division 1, they had a talent called Distracted with the Urban MDR. It was an all-around talent that gave you like 25 or 30% weapon damage once you applied a status effect on an enemy. This is essentially distracted, but now it's called Wicked, and you get 18% increased weapon damage for 20 seconds when you apply a status effect. This is going to help you maintain your damage before you get your hollow point ammo, because there's usually, for most gear sets, a requirement. Sometimes it's worth it, sometimes it's not. For this one, you have to shoot a status affected enemy which will apply a mark, and killing that marked enemy grants a full clip of hollow point ammo for your active weapon, and half of the clip of the agent's active weapon to the rest of the party. And this is what I was talking about when it has exceptional team support. Everybody on the team is going to be firing these hollow point ammo, and the mark lasts for 10 seconds, so you have plenty of time to kill the target. Hollow point ammo amplifies weapon damage by 20% and applies bleed on hit. Now you know how crazy bleed is, right? Plus the 2-piece OD gives me 15% status effects, and the 3-piece is probably one of the best in the game. 30% reload speed. I mean, come on now, in the era of LMGs and just the fact that DPS needs to be instant, you want to have that reload right away. Some of these weapons have really slow reloads. So this is goated, honestly. And it's not even the best part, because the chest piece, which is called Parabellum Rounds, increases hollow point ammo weapon damage amplification to 50% from 20. So you get an extra 30% for wearing the chest piece. That's crazy, man. This bonus does not apply to the party members, by the way. That would be super crazy. But 20% amp damage for your party members is plenty enough, especially if you got players running Umbra on your team and, you know, the works. Now, the attribute composition you want on your ongoing directive gear is critical hit damage with crit chance mods, because critical hit chance is easier to reach maximum in the stat sheet, which I'm going to show you in the end. And for the backpack, I have crit chance, crit damage on the Brazos backpack. This dropped really good. I just got this from Countdown. So what this build does, it affords you the opportunity to deal more damage with Wicked before your hollow point ammo. So once you get your hollow point ammo, it's over with. It's curtains. Did you see the damage I was dealing? Right? So Wicked plus Parabellum Rounds, that's crazy. And a few ways that I'm able to apply a status on enemies is, one, the burn sticky bomb. You can use whichever variant you want. You can use the EMP sticky bomb, but because this is a 6-tier skill build, it only has a 26-second cooldown, and it hits super hard in PvP. I don't see why you wouldn't use a 6-tier skill build if you have a build like this. I mean, it's the status effects, everything just comes together, right? This staggers them and sets them on fire, which then applies the status effect, which gives you the mark you need to get Parabellum Rounds. It's just a perfect synergy. And then, of course, you know, the explosive seeker mine, which tracks enemies. This can test the corners, make sure nobody's hiding behind the corner waiting on you, right? This deals insane damage, and it also applies bleed on hit. So this works to your benefit as well to give you the Parabellum Rounds. Now, here's the beauty of this build, right? The capacitor. This weapon is special amongst so many. And I want you guys to bear with me, because this is just the first half. The second half, I'm going to be doing the PvE version, which you're going to love because it's with the big horn. But let's not get into that right now. Anyways, the capacitor is special. I need to optimize this. I don't know why I've been waiting, because I use it so much. It's not even 15% assault rifle damage. And get this, it has the full damage to armor, which, by the way, is the only weapon, the only assault rifle rather, that has damage to armor on it. Every other assault rifle has damage to health, damage to health, damage to health. Capacitor is the only assault rifle that grants damage to armor, and both of which are multiplicative bonuses. This is why the weapon shreds so much. And with the talent, it's called the capacitance. Shooting enemies builds stacks to a cap of 40. Each stack grants 1.5% skill damage, which will ultimately be 60%. And after 5 seconds, stacks decay 1 per second. This is going to help your skills, which I was just talking about. So after you lay into an enemy with a full clip, then you turn around and hit somebody with a sticky bomb, you're going to feel that extra skill damage. Not only that, for each skill tier, which I have 6, you gain 7.5% weapon damage. I mean, how can you beat this? Come on, man. Come on, man. This is insane. For my secondary, I'm just using the Everlasting Gaze. It's a named rifle, MK17, perfect perpetuation. Headshots grant 75% status effect damage and duration to the next status effect you apply, and a cooldown is 16 seconds. So this is just a nice secondary to have, since none of the other weapons are really going to scale because they require weapon damage or weapon cores. And for my pistol, I'm just using the 𝐒𝐻 D50. Now let me show you the stats for this build. The crit stats are very good considering what I have here. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what you call a hybrid. So it's not going to be critted out to the max, but it's going to give you exactly what you need to deal the damage that is sufficient. And the people on your team are going to be wearing Coyote's mask. You're going to have the support to get your crit damage and chance up even more than this. Look at that 50% reload speed bonus, which is really nice. So this is a really all around great Predator's Mark build for this patch. And I figured, you know, I needed to do something different. I can't use the Ninja Bike backpack this time. I can't use all reds or blues and reds because I want to use my skills. This is the complete package right here. So without further ado, let's move on to the PvE version because I know you guys are waiting on that. This is called the Predator. Okay. Now, I'll be seeing a lot of people running around with the bighorn. Okay. Rightfully so. These players are running around with 1.9 million armor using pestilence and bighorn, whatever. I'm like, what if I used ongoing directive? Now, I use this in PvP and I'm like, initially I said to myself, let me use this in PvP and I'm going to destroy people. Face tank them, hit them in the head. Let me tell you something, fam. The only way that I aim at people's heads is if I'm using sniper builds, mainly. Surprisingly, I don't aim at the head when I'm using an assault rifle. That's just not really my playstyle. Some people are really good at it, especially on PvP. They use the mouse and keyboard and they're beaming your head even when people are strafing. And it's really a high skill gap gameplay. And I commend those who can do that. But so many times I've tried to do that and I was failing. So this build is great in PvP if you have the level of skill to use it correctly, because then you can melt people. Everybody's less tankier than you are. You're dealing an insane amount of headshot damage. So let's get into the build because the bighorn was buffed a lot. Okay. So what this does is when scoped, it switches to a semi-automatic fire mode, dealing 450% weapon damage with each shot. Headshots grant 6% headshot damage, and these stacks up to 25 times. You do the math. Once at full stacks, 10 stacks decay every 4 seconds until all stacks have been removed. Headshots delay decaying of stacks. So this is why you can face tank people if you're aiming at the head with no problem. So I just decided to use this in PvE and go from there, using it at Camp White Oak. I loved the whole vibe that it gave. It was fighting against Black Tusk, and I'm using the survivalist specialization. Reason being is because if you're going against Black Tusk and certain robotic enemies, the specialization weapon is the explosive crossbow. And this right here is great, right? This pierces the NPC's armor as well. Like the robotic dogs, did you see how much damage I dealt to that? It only took 2 shots and more than half of his armor was gone. And he no longer had that protective armor coating, which is essentially health. So then I was just able to burn him down with my bighorn. I already explained to you what ongoing directive does, but everything on this build is going to have headshot damage rolled with an armor core. So all you need to do is go to countdown and farm for the pieces that already have headshot damage on them and then roll it to armor. And because you have to aim at the head, I made sure a couple pieces had weapon handling on it. It's up to you. Like I said, it's easier for me to aim when I have weapon handling. You can use sharpshooter to get better weapon handling, but survivalist is perfect for this build. Now, this is also part of the bread and butter of the build. It's called the Catharsis Mask. It was also buffed tremendously. Vicious Cycle, taking damage stacks to a cap of 30. Each stack grants 1.5, which used to be 1% weapon damage. Taking damage at max stacks triggers a purge. So you can get up to 45% weapon damage with this. And because you have all armor cores, you have to find another source of damage dealing. And this is it. This and the bighorn. So taking damage at max stacks triggers a purge, removing all stacks and status effects, and then dropping a heal cloud, which restores 5% of max armor for 10 seconds to all allies in the cloud. So since I have 1.9 million armor, it's 5% of that. And here's where you get more damage, right? This is also wicked, but it's the named backpack, and I have armor regen rolled with headshot damage. This has perfectly wicked. Now, the perfect version of wicked doesn't increase the damage. It only increases the duration that wicked is applied, which is 7 more seconds. So I guess it's not really that serious to use this over that. So maybe you can use a Fenris backpack. Actually, that's a great idea. I'm going to switch this to a Fenris backpack, roll to armor with wicked so I can get more damage with my bighorn. Okay, I have to interrupt this build video to include a bonus build update automatically. When I was doing this build video, the Lexington came out. I logged in and I got the Lexington God rolled. The great thing about this is that it came with damage to targets out of cover. I don't know what somebody else got. Maybe they got damage to armor. Maybe others got headshot damage. But I'm so glad I got this attribute because now I'm free to roll whatever talent I want on this build. So whatever build that I make, I can use a talent that caters to it. For this build, I'm using 𝐒𝐳𝑡𝑠, which amplifies my damage by 30% to bleeding enemies. Now, I was fortunate enough to find a Fenris backpack on my other character that already has headshot damage on it and wicked. The weapon damage is low and it's not rolled to an armor core, which effectively makes this build 1.7 mil instead of 1.9. It's okay, because if you want to use a build like this increases your assault rifle damage because Fenris gives you 10% AR damage for the first piece, and you get more DPS because you have one more weapon core. Another thing, I switched to gunner instead of survivalist. One reason being, I'm using 2 assault rifles, the Bighorn and the Lexington. And with this, it gives you a supply line. This talent generates 10% of total ammo capacity every 60 seconds, and party members recover 5%. Another thing is coupler. Every third reload is 50% faster. Now with ongoing directive, remember, the 3-piece gives you what? 30% reload speed. So I'm going to get 80% reload speed whenever I reload with one of my weapons on that third reload. Wait, hold on. No, I'm going to get more than that because on the underbarrel I have another 14% reload speed. So I'm going to get almost 100% reload speed with the Lexington every third reload. And when it's not, it's going to be over 40%. That's insane, man. Now the Lexington hits hard and it's a great weapon. It feels really nice and I'm glad they brought it back. One more thing for this bonus build update. I guess this build is more than just 2, right? It's 3. Anyways, instead of the Minder Mine, I'm using the Banshee Pulse. This is amazing. It launches a forward arc of pulse energy that disorients enemies caught in the wave. It penetrates cover as well. Disorient is a status effect, which means this also activates the mark that's required in order for you to get these hollow points with rules of engagement, then increasing your damage even more with parabellum rounds. Yeah, this couldn't have come at a better time, and I'm so stoked about this, man. Plus I can use it with my shield. When I had the Carnage, you can't use LMGs with Crusader shields, so now I can use this to my advantage. But anyways, I just wanted to interrupt that build to include this bonus build update, and there you have it, 3 versions. And don't get me wrong, I am going to find a Fenris backpack that already has headshot damage, and if I'm lucky, wicked, so that I can roll it to an armor core. For now, this is just the way it is, but I'm glad I got this extra damage with the Fenris and the Lexington. So let me just get back to what I was talking about before with the Carnage and the 1.9 build. By the way, comment down below and let me know which attribute you've got on the Lexington, and what level of veteran are you? Do you have silver, bronze? Do you have all 3? The secondary I'm using is great. Oh my goodness, I haven't used this in probably 2 years. You have to get this weapon. It's called the Carnage. This is the Negev variant LMG, and it's perfect because I'm using the Bighorn as my primary, which is an exotic, so I can't use another exotic. This is the name weapon that has perfect 𝐒𝐳𝑡𝑠, and this was buffed also. Amplifies weapon damage by 35% to bleeding enemies, and after 3 kills, it applies a bleed to the next enemy you hit. So this is really good if you want more firepower. If you want to just sit back, if you don't want to just aim at the head with the Bighorn, you can spray and pray with this, and the extra damage that you deal to bleeding targets is going to be insane, especially if you have hollow point ammo. I have parabellum rounds, so you're going to get that 50% amplification as well. This is another reason why you should use survivalist, is because the Secret Mine has a specific variant for this specialization called the Minder Mine. Of course, it's not going to do as much because you have 6 armor cores, but it's just nice for survivability since you're going to be tanking a lot of damage. And for my second skill, I'm using the Crusader shield, which is going to be a max tier 6 shield since all of my cores are armor. So I get the maximum bonus. And this is really going to help with face tanking. Now, the stats for this, not much crit at all, not much crit chance or damage. The only thing you want to worry about here is the headshot damage, which is going to increase significantly when you land more. And the great thing about assault rifles is that they have health damage. So this is good for chungas and robotic dogs because they don't have armor, they have health only. So that is the breakdown of both of these builds. I really want to know what you think about it down below in the comment section. Let me tell you something, okay? There's something about PvP, you know, sometimes you won't believe in yourself. And at first I wasn't believing in myself using this Predator's mark in PvP. I'm like, man, I'm getting melted. What do I do? I had some bad games where I was like just getting destroyed. One is because I solo queue. Another reason is because it's tough when you take so much damage. So you have to be shifty and strategic. But man, I really believe in this, and I'm not going to put out a build that doesn't work categorically. And I hope you like it. I want you to tell me down below if you're a PvPer or a PvEer. Which build did you like the most? Have you made an ongoing directive build? And if so, how did you put it together? And you know how I do. If you enjoy this, and if you're hype about this build, comment Predator's Mark down below in the comment section. And you all know I love when you subscribe to my channel, like my videos. Road to 50K. We are almost there, and I cannot wait. I'll see you in the next one, fam. Be right out.